Shalom. The battle is in your mind. That's exactly where the battle, the true battle is. It's in your mind. You know, everything that go on in our lives, it's an emotion that comes with it, with our thoughts. And your thoughts and the way you think and what you think have everything to do with your spirituality. When we were born into this world, we were born into sin. And we have to make a decision. Rather, we going to be good people or bad people? Are we going to be wicked? Or are we going to be godly? You know, we all make a decision. Are we going to be right or righteous? Or will we be wrong? We all have to make a decision as to what God we serve. But there's a battle that go on in the flesh. And that battle will continue until you make a decision and serve only one. Now, the battle is in the mind. The battle start in the flesh. It started through Adam and Eve, of course, when they disobeyed God in the garden. And they lost eternal life. Now, man took on sin nature and flesh. The spirit of man is no longer one. You know, man, Adam and Eve was just one, you know, inside of them. There wasn't two to battle. There was just one. But because of their disobedience, because they disobeyed God and they obeyed Satan, but they disobeyed God. And because of that, they were born into sin and they lost their soul salvation and they became two instead of one. Because now you could do good or you could do bad. But before you were only good, you were just one. They became enemies to one another. The flesh fights the spirit to gain control over the body, and the spirit fights the flesh to gain control over the body, and the body fights the spirit to gain control. In Galatians 5:17, for the flesh lusts against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to another, one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. In order to control the body, you must first control the mind. If you're going to be a slave, that slave owner has to control your mind. For you to be that slave, he have to gain control over you, over your mind, what you think and what you do and what you say, everything about you. He has to have control over that. Well, that's the same as the spirit. The spirit want control over the body so it could give you guidance in a godly way to guide you toward God. And the flesh want to gain control to pull you out in the world so you could do all the wicked things of Satan. So that battle is a continuous thing on the inside of you. It's a spiritual battle that's going on inside of you. And the thing, it's a shame that many people are unaware of the spiritual realm. All they know is what they can see. And there's so much more than what you could see. So this battle that going on the inside of us could turn out real bad, or it could turn out well if you make a decision. See, this is the thing. You cannot just live without making a decision. You must make a decision as to, or do you want to be righteous, or do you want to be whatever you want to be? See, that's where the world is right now. They want to do what they want to do. They don't want no God, no God telling them what to do. That's why so many of them serve Satan, which is the world. If the world love you, then you are not part of God. You cannot be, because the world do not love God's children. The world hates God's children. So if you make a decision as to what God you serve, and you come to God, come to Yeshua, and ask His forgiveness, and then ask Ahaya in the name of Yeshua, ask him to forgive you for your sin and accept you as one of Him. Now, the way Christians been living, it was wrong. Things we were doing was wrong. Worshiping on those days was wrong. Um, but you still have to believe in God, the Creator, and His Son. That is still true. I know I hear some say, even Hebrews, say that Jesus wasn't real. There wasn't a real Jesus. He was so real. And He was predicted in the Old Testament many times that He was coming, the Savior. Now, His name was not Jesus. His name was Yeshua. But He was predicted in the Bible that He's coming. The Bible didn't get corrupted until centuries after the death of Christ is when they corrupted the Bible. And we have to search and dig. But one thing that most people were unaware of, that the true Hebrews have a certain connection to the Bible. Our souls sense this truth in the Bible. And when you have the true God, He guides you and directs you. It was God, Ahaya, who brought me to research out who the Hebrews are. It was God who had me to research and find out about the true name of Yeshua. I didn't know any of this, but He guided me to the door, and He wanted me to research it. He said, "Tell my people who they are." Well, I had to find out who we are, and boy did I find out. But this is what's going on the inside of you. You have to make a decision. If you have not made a decision to serve the true Creator, guess what? Satan will make it for you. You don't even have to. If you don't choose righteousness, you automatically has chose wickedness and evil. You've automatically chose it, because Satan automatically is your God if you have not claimed the true God. Okay, 1 Corinthians 15:40. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial. But the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. The celestial bodies are the spirit part of man, and the terrestrial bodies are the flesh part of man. So the flesh, you have the flesh, then you have the spirit that lives on the inside of you. Now the mind is connected to that soul that live inside of you. The mind and the soul is one. The mind is an intellect of the soul. So you've got that soul, that spirit inside of you, fighting to gain control over the entire body. And you have the flesh trying to pull you out in the world to do what you want to do what feels good. You know, the world is wicked, and if you do what you want to do, you're going to be a very wicked person also, because the world is evil, and He's calling you out of the world at this time. Come out of her, my people. He's saying, come out of her, because He know the destruction that's coming to the world. And if you are not, if you part of the world, you're going to get caught up in that destruction. And not only that, if you part of the world, you lose your soul salvation. Oh, there's good reasons why you should come out of the world and come into his marvelous light of understanding, wisdom, and knowledge, set apart from the world. In order to win the battle, you must renew the mind. Romans 12:2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Ahia. Renew your mind. How do you renew your mind? By learning the will of God, by learning his word, by studying. You renew your mind through the knowledge of Christ, the gospel, the entire Bible, the Torah. I hear some saying, oh, no, you only study the Torah. Some people only study the New Testament. But I tell you, one without the other, you're lost. You have to have both to get the entire story, the whole truth, the whole power. You need both. The New Testament as well as the Old Testament. Now, you must learn the plan of God. Learn what his plan is. And it's all in his prophecy. But unless you know who the true Hebrews are and who the true Kenites are, it's hard to predict Bible prophecy unless you understand who the people are that are spoken of in the Bible. Now, when you learn about the people of the Bible, their stories, their situations, how did they worship God, and how they went wrong? What did they do to displease God? What did they do to go into slavery? And how do they pray? How did they used to pray? Learning these things, you take on the Spirit of God and you come into his light of knowledge. Before you can do any of these things, you must first turn your life over to Ahia. Submit to him. You know, just you have Sunday Christians that go to church on Sundays and they think they're serving God. But that's another lesson. I just finished a message on that, and I'm not going to get into it here. But let's continue. Turn your life over to God, which is Ahia. Admit that you are a sinner. You can't come to him saying, well, I'm not really bad anyway. God, I'm not bad. You know, I'm kind of good. No, he say, either you with me or you against me. See, there's no in between. So when you think you dabbling, you're doing a little, you're doing good, but you dabble in the world a while, and then you come back and you keep switching out like that. Let me tell you something. You serving Satan. You're not serving God. You have to submit to him. He wants it all or none. All or none. So admit that you're a sinner and that you can't do this on your own. You ask him to forgive you and to take control over your life, and then you get serious with God. You get very serious, and you start asking him to help you to learn who he is. You know, help me, God, help me. Ahia, in the name of Yeshua, let me know you. Help me to understand your word. Show me, and he will. Now, now once you get serious with God, once you get serious, you become an easy prey of the devil. Meaning Satan gonna try you to get you back. He's gonna try so hard. Your job is not to allow him to win. Your job is to stay close to the Father. Stay close to his son, Yeshua. Talk to him constantly. Read the word every day. You have to protect yourself with the word and prayer. That is your weapon. I hear people talk and complain about Satan is destroying the world and how powerful Satan is in the world, and thinking how powerful he is. But let me tell you something about when you start thinking about how powerful Satan is, you are actually giving Satan power. Satan is not powerful. Satan have no power over me. Zero, none. And I know he don't. But if you say Satan have no power over you and you're not sure, then he have power over you. But I'm positive that he have no power over me. It's because I've given myself as much as I possibly can, 100% to a higher. I'm not saying I'm not a sinner. I don't go out to sin. I don't try to sin. But I realize I am a sinner. So I stay prayed up and read up. And that's how Satan have to stay off. He cannot harm me. And you have to know it for yourself. I'm telling you, but until you know it for yourself, in Luke 10:19, I think it's 10:18 and 19, Luke, the 10th chapter, and I think it's verse 18 and 19 verse, it tells us that Satan have no authority, no power over us, but we give it to him anyway through our ignorance and things that we don't know. We are serving Satan without realizing that we are. There is so much you need to learn. Because what you have been taught is a lot of lies when it comes down to Christianity. Find out. Research Christianity. Now, just remember, Satan have no power over you. Only the power you give him over you. Now, if you sin, you automatically open a door for Satan to come in. That's how he gets in, through sin. If you don't sin, he cannot come in. Now, I guess you say, well, you say we all sin. Yes, the thing is, when we sin, who are totally dedicated and submitted to a higher, it's not held against us, and it's like it rolls off us. It's like a ball. It rolled down. It rolled off us. That's how sin react to us. So sin doesn't touch us, and we cannot be punished for a sin that rolled off us, because God, that is the advantage in being real with the higher. Sin can't stick to us. That's one of the good things. When you believe that Satan have power over you, guess what? He does. Okay. So you renew your mind. God used Satan to reform man in 1 Corinthians 5:5, to deliver such a one unto Satan for the destruction of the flesh, and the spirit may be, that the spirit may be saved in the day of the Lord Christ, of Yeshua. While we are battling in the mind, we must remember Ephesians 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. People, you may think only poor people use black magic and do all these magical things for money or whatever reason they do, but no, baby. People in high places, it means that wealthy people, people who run this world, people who call themselves God's children in high places, they have power, and some of them are using God, but they're actually serving Satan. And they have this spiritual power also. The same powers of Satan. Satan give his children evil power to do, which is a form of witchcraft or voodoo. They have so many names for it now. So you know the battle is in the mind, in that spiritual place. And the reason it fight the mind is because that's where the kingdom is coming. Spiritual maturity will bring you into the kingdom. When you become spiritually mature, then you rise up into the kingdom while you're still here on this earth. Yes, the kingdom of heaven is within you. And I did a video on that. The spirit, the kingdom of heaven is within you. It's not over there, over here. It's in you. And see, the whole battle is to stop you from reaching that kingdom, is to keep your mind all clotted up with things that don't matter. So you won't become spiritual. So you won't find God. You won't find the truth. And Satan just trick you out of your soul. And that's really happening to so many. The majority of the world is being tricked out of their souls, and they don't realize it. Each time you overcome evil, any kind of evil you overcome, you get stronger. Every time you go over an obstacle, you get stronger. Every time you get past the trouble or some old obstacle, some trap Satan set in your way, each time you become spiritual stronger. If you're still calling on a higher, if you have not turned around and said, oh, I can't do this. If you stand firm and you keep calling on him through all of your trials and tribulations, and you will reach maturity. It's not an easy task, and Satan is not going to allow you to easily do this. But if you give him yourself to him totally, to God, the creator of all things, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, if you give yourself completely to him, and then it'll be easier to grow spiritually. It'll be easy to grow and become spiritually mature enough to reach the kingdom of heaven. And the kingdom of heaven is another dimension inside of you. And it's in your mind, this kingdom. And what connect us with Yeshua, Christ, is this kingdom that's in us. The Holy Spirit also lives in us, and that all combines us as one. We are one church. Well, I want to say shalom, and I'm going to come back with a part 2 of the battle in the mind. Shalom.